And I was like, this opens up a whole new world.
All right. Well, good morning. We're going to start off with our IAP Lite training this morning. So we're glad you're with us. Justin, you should have control of those slides, and I'm going to turn it right over to you to get us started here.
All right. So today we're going to look at the Super IAP Lite. And one thing to note, like Ty said, we are going to be informal. So if you have a question, just pop in. There's just 6 of us here in this room. So it should be not too chaotic if we have questions. And your question is probably somebody else's question if you need to ask it as well. So make sure you do that. All right. So when we look at an extension program, one of the things we've got to realize is the terminology we use can sometimes change a little bit. So you may have heard, or you may have even said, I'm going to go do this program at a 4-H club, or I'm going to go deliver this program to the Master Gardeners or FCE clubs. And those are all good and well. But when we start looking at planning, reporting, and evaluation, what we're looking at when we talk about an extension program is the collective effort that you're working on for that program. So, we would say, what does that FCS program look like in Bledsoe County? Or, what does that A&R and 4-H program look like in Scott County? So we're looking at the program as a whole. And so the big key here is that the program is that planned response to needs. So needs assessment is vital in planning in extension, because we can do so many different things in all of our program areas, but the reality of it is if we're not addressing needs, we're going to miss some collective value to our counties there. And so the programs are going to be different types of things. So your delivery methods may be social media, it may be face-to-face, it may be one-to-one, it may be, I think of in FCS, you may be doing a food preservation training, but the reality of it is it's connected to your larger food safety training. So you may be doing some media releases, you may be doing social media, you may be doing a health fair where you're sharing all this information, doing 10-set programming where you're talking about cross-contamination, how to avoid that, and food preservation. And it's all connected to a larger piece there, but there's activities and or projects in there. And the other thing to note is it's not a one-shot deal. So you may call it going to deliver a program, or I'm going to go do this program at such and such place. But the reality of it is when we talk about an extension program, we're talking about that whole collective there as we look at your program. All right. Did I go one too far, Ty? I did not. Okay. All right. So the IAP Lite that we're going to be talking through and assigning you some homework to do on this over the next couple of weeks and work on, this is going to be the foundation for your learning of doing an individual annual plan, which everybody's required to do at the end of the year, towards the end of the year. So the IAP score is included in your performance appraisal. And that's either 1 unacceptable or 5 acceptable on that plan. And we work with you to get that in that 5. And then the components of the IAP, it's going to be the basis of your performance appraisal. So what you have in this IAP Lite is going to be, did you take off on me, Ty?
Oh, I was trying to think if I could mute myself. And so I thought maybe I can hit the space bar and then it moved the slide forward. I don't want to mess with my mouse because it's going to mess you up.
All right, you're good. So all this that you put in this IAP Lite is going to be the basis of that performance appraisal. And when you do the full IAP at the end of the year, that's going to be what you're reporting against at the end of the year. So the key thing to note is that impact statement is the report against your plan. And that impact statement that you build at the end of the year will be part of a dossier when you go for promotion in a few years. Some of you, if you have a master's degree, that may be 4 years. Others, it's 6 or 7 years on that. I can't remember the exact one on that, Ty.
And then Ty, if you hit Alt-A, that should mute you.
Oh, man.
If you have
Alt-A.
If you have the Zoom selected, maybe that's the issue.
I may have to click on the Zoom.
Yeah.
All right. So when we talk about doing this IAP Lite, what we're asking you to focus on is your demographics, goals, tasks with those goals, and then outcomes for your goals. So when we talk about demographics, we're not just looking at male, female, number of households, race and ethnicity. We want you to examine what might be pertinent to your program area and in your county. So if you're doing 4-H, you probably need to know how many elementary schools there are, and how many high schools and different things like that. So we're not asking you to go massively extensive, but you may want to do some pieces there in that demographic that is going to help you in your program area, and finding those. And with this, we're only going to do one individual action agenda, even if you are a split assignment agent. So keep that in mind as we go through. And Ty, I think it's off to you at this point.
All right, sounds good. And so we, in the past, we've used the term split agent, and we've sort of been going towards saying joint agent. And I just noticed I could have switched that slide and I didn't think of it, but I just thought I'd mention both of those terms. And so it looks like Melissa, Sean, and Olivia are doing 2 program areas. And so that is critical to you, and you can just pick one of those 2 to focus on, maybe the one that more of those goals land in, so adult or youth work. So we're going to take you through some of the slides that are some of the things you'll have to do in Super to set up this IAP Lite, and we're going to talk about it here, and then we're going to go show you. So I may not spend a lot of time on all these slides, but we'll spend plenty of time, and if you have 2 screens, you can work along with us through this process on your own there at your desk. So so we're going to land on the agenda homepage. We're going to get this started, create an agenda, have a name for it. We're going to choose one from what we have already created on the state action agendas. And so if you see SAA, that's state action agenda. And so they've found all the major priority areas across all of the program areas, and there's already an action agenda created. And then we tap into that and add some county information about needs, and then we add some county information about our program plans and all that kind of thing. But in the IAP Lite, we're focused mostly on demographics and goals and tasks is what we'll work on. So once you pick that, yeah, a lot of information will populate and you'll have outcome indicators to choose from. So I think it'll be really handy for you and will make sense when we get in there. So outcomes are something that we'll look at, and that's a big part of how we report impact. And so later in the year, we'll have an impact statement training, and you'll learn a lot about that, but we're going to give you a little bit of a preview today. And so that goes along with different programs that you're conducting. There are certain outcomes that go with those. And then hopefully at the end of each one, you're collecting some impact data, doing a survey or something else. And you've got that information then to report in your outcomes, and you can choose those. We'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. One thing that I would just note here when we're thinking about outcomes is every time I do a survey with a group, especially if I was a new agent, yes, I want to get that impact data, but it's also an opportunity for you to do some needs assessment. And so we're all starting out, and needs assessment is a really important thing in your first year as an extension agent. So I would almost always have 1 or 2 or 3 questions on there about, what are their interests in future classes? What are areas they'd like to learn more about in this topic area, or things like that. So it's an opportunity to do impact, a survey for impact, but also if they're already filling that thing out, whether it's online or on paper, throw a needs assessment question on there to help yourself gather some good information. That's my suggestion. One thing is, as you're working in Super, and this is more true in the individual action plan than anywhere else, is the save button is extremely important. It's not like Google Forms or where you just close it and it all stays there. It's going to be gone unless you remember to hit that save button every single time you type something in or change something. So anyways, realize that. And as you're working on those goals and tasks, my suggestion is type that up in Word, get that the way you want it, and then just copy and paste it right into your IAP. So that way you're putting it in there one time and you're saving it. And then you may need to go back and edit it at some point, but it's less risk of it being something happening. So a lot of times what we do is we type in there, then we get a phone call, and before you know it, 15 or 20 minutes have gone by and it might log you out, or you might get timed out, and then everything you've typed up might be gone. So if you get a phone call and you're working in there typing, hit save, and then it'll be there next time. So we don't want you guys to learn that the hard way. All right. So the great thing here is that you all are going to get a 5 on this. We're going to work with you to make sure you get a 5, just like Justin said. And so for agents that start after July 1, they're only going to get a 3 because they don't get to have a IEP their first year. So although, yes, you're coming in and having to do a little more work than agents starting later in the year, you get 2 more points on your performance appraisal, and that's pretty cool. So that's good. All right. So issue. Once you select your state action agenda, there is a statewide issue statement that uploads into your plan. And so then we complete the agent addition section, which is basically related to our county. And so what we would like to ask you to do, and I just realized that we have not sent you guys this PowerPoint file, and I apologize for that. Justin, if you want to try to email that to them, I should have done that yesterday and I did not think of it. We've had a busy day. We want to ask you, this is your first task, other than creating the action plan, is to include some basic county demographic data in the issue section. So race and ethnicity and population, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so that's number one, probably super easy thing, is to include some county demographics. Now, you can take that a little farther. You could include some income level information. Sean and Olivia, I would really encourage you on the agriculture side to include some information from your county agriculture census data. And I think 2017 is the last one available. Have you guys seen those? You can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Have you seen the county profiles from NASS? At the end, we might look at that if you guys want to. But if you're on here and want to do a quick search, type in, Olivia, you can type in Knox County profile NASS, National Agriculture Statistics Service, and you'll see that. And you could just put in a few factors that you think are important, for you, maybe what is grown in your county. On the 4-H side and the FCS side, if you're doing work with youth, Families First, I think, is a great source for information. I think I have that right. Let's see.
County Health Rankings is also a good place to land.
County Health Rankings is excellent on the FCS side. I may have that Families First wrong. There's one that's really good for youth, but you could also use data if you have data from your school system. And like Justin said, if you're doing 4-H work, you might include the information about your schools, just to have a rundown of what schools are there in the county that you'll be working with. So this is sort of customized to each one of you and what you're going to be doing and what your county is. So there's no cookie cutter deal here. It's just what is useful information. And you can put this in any format you would like. It can be a table. It can just be text. It's nice if it's easy to read, but as long as it's in there and we know you've reviewed it and you've gathered that, we're going to be pretty happy, I think.
And one of the things that may help you as well, if you're using some of those sources, now you don't have to cite this like you're doing a bachelor's or master's level paper, but if you just put in parentheses there, something that would help you remember, because it could be a resource you could refer to in the future as well. So that may help you if you're using county health rankings or any of those other pieces. That way, you know, kind of where that information is to go see if they've got anything new.
Sounds good. All right. Any questions about that? Anything you want to ask?
Is there a template that we put this information in, or are we just gathering this information and putting it in like a report form?
It's going to be a big text box that you've got to work with. And we're not looking for a lot of information. If you have the race, ethnicity, population, and a few other statistics that relate to your program area, then we're happy. So, you know, it doesn't need to be huge. Just some basic facts that would be relevant to your county and what your program is. How's that sound?
Thank you.
And Nancy, I'll say you and I and Linda worked either in late February, early March, and you've got a lot of that data already that you worked with Linda on. So a lot of that you already have got that compiled and ready. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just found the website. It's not Families First. What I was trying to think of is kidscount.org. That's the one that has the youth data in there. It's been a few years since I had to make one myself, so I forgot about it. Kids Count. So Melissa, Sean, you might tap into that a little bit on the 4-H side to you know, share a little bit there. Kidscount.org. Okay, and you can look it up by county. All right, I'm going to keep rolling along if we don't have any questions, but again, just jump right in here. So now we're going to get to the real meat of our plan for this year, and that is to come up with 3 to 5 goals. Now, all of you started in pretty early 2021. Okay, so we would really like to see each of you have 4 to 5 goals. Now, if you had started in May or June and had to do an IAP Lite, then we'd probably be looking at 3 or 4. But since you guys started early in the year, let's try to focus on 4 or 5 goals. And those goals can include things that you've already done. You don't have to do things that are going to happen from now to the end of the year. If there are things you've already started on or even already completed and you feel like they're a significant accomplishment, set that in your goals. There's no reason we can't include that as part of your goal. So a few things to think about here is that we would really like for one of those goals, we really don't want to tell you what your goals are going to be. We want you to customize those to what works for you to help you to be successful in your first year as an extension agent. But from experience, we feel like one of those goals should probably be a program goal, okay? Something that you're going to do with an extension program. So that might be later in the year. You're going to get some training and then you're going to implement something. So one program goal. Now you can have 2, that's good too, but at least 1, okay? And then a professional development goal is an option, okay? We know we do a lot of professional development. Sean, you probably have worked on your commercial applicator certification. Have you already achieved that? Awesome. Okay, so that could be a goal, and that's significant. That really is significant, and you've already achieved it. And I would be really happy if you wanted to put that down as a goal. And Olivia, I think that may be something you're working on. And so I think that's a great goal because that's very important for us to be able to give recommendations on any kind of pesticides. We have to have that commercial applicator certification, and you do have to pass the test. You got to study. It's not necessarily easy to achieve. So great. Lots of professional development opportunities. So you know, you're going to achieve that goal, I think, if it's professional development. We just want to be specific with what is that all about? What are you going to have to do to get that? Now, we'd like for if you're a joint agent, to include a goal related to each of your program areas. So adult and youth. It doesn't have to be a program goal for both. It might be a professional development, some training in one area and a program in the other. We're going to leave that up to you. If it's a program in both, that's great too, but that's up to you. And I did not put this on the slide, but I would also very strongly encourage you to make one of your programming goals related to needs assessment. Needs assessment is very important. We're not going to make you do needs assessment for this IAP Lite, but in November, when your IAP for 2022 is due, needs assessment is part of that. And we're going to count on you to have some information to share there. So part of needs assessment can be networking. So I've seen some really good goals that are needs assessment and networking combined, because if you're doing needs assessment, you're talking to people and you're meeting people and all that kind of thing. And in your first 6 months, I mean, one of the most important things you can do is meet people in your community, especially those key stakeholders, community leaders, and volunteers and other people that you are going to be working with. And so networking is extremely important. If you want to make that a goal by itself, that's great, you know, because we realize that's so important. And you just need to have an idea of how you're going to do that. But networking and needs assessment. Needs assessment can be talking to people, gathering information. It can be surveys. It can be observations, you know, seeing what's happening out there in the county. So it can include lots of different things. And so just kind of see what works for you. So we talked about a program goal, maybe a professional development goal, a needs assessment goal. I think that pretty well covers it. Now, before we get to tasks, let me just ask you, are there any questions about goals? Do you have something in mind that you're kind of thinking about? Is that a good goal? Anything we can help you with?
Quick question. You sent out an email for the DART certification.
Yeah.
And I actually did do it, and I just have to turn in my information to have the paperwork processed. But is that something I could put on there?
It could be, but I'm not as excited about that as the commercial applicator. And
Oh yeah, and I'll definitely include that.
Yeah. So you could even put those two into one goal, though. You could definitely do that. And I think that would be awesome. When we think about that professional development, I think about something that's going to take you more than just a one-time thing. So to get the disaster animal response training certification, we had to attend the 3-hour session, and I got to do that too a few nights ago. And then we've got to submit our information with a photo and all that. And so that's not something that's going to require multiple tasks to achieve. And so we're really looking for goals that might take multiple tasks. So, you know, if you want to list different in-services that you're going to attend, and you know, maybe the goal is become a more proficient across the whole spectrum of agriculture programs for extension in Tennessee, and then you list some in-services that you're going to attend, and that's one of them. That's a great.
So one of our tasks could kind of be like, the task itself is just, you know, professional or personal development, and then some of the tasks to complete it would be commercial applicator, the DART, and then, you know, in-services. Is that correct? Like, it could be listed that way as one of our
it could be
goals?
it could be. Yep. And again, that commercial applicator could be a goal by itself, because that is a big animal there. That's very significant. So there are agents that sometimes struggle with that and may not even get that in the first year, which I hate to even admit. And it should be something that we do right away. So I'm very happy when we can achieve that. we'll look at some examples here to help you guys, but then with each one of those goals, we want to include the tasks or the steps that we are going to have to go through to achieve that goal. And so we call those tasks. So as we're thinking about that goal, we want to set at least 3 tasks to go with that. And you may have 10 tasks to go with a goal. There's no limit to it. We're not looking for 25 tasks or 20, but somewhere between 3 and 10 is probably in the right area for most goals. And what that does is it helps us to know exactly how you're going to go about doing something, and to make sure that you really know and understand what it's going to take to achieve that goal. If we look at those tasks and we're like, well, there's some things that are going to happen here that maybe somebody hasn't thought about, then we'll visit with you about that. So this is to help you be successful and to help us understand and make sure that we understand your goal fully, and everybody knows what it's going to take to accomplish that goal. All right. So we will get into some examples, I promise. And they're good ones, so I think you'll like it. Justin and I may team up on this slide, but when we set these goals, we really need to put some thought into the goals and make them SMART goals, not just something real general, participate in professional development. That is not at all what we're looking for. We want it, so S is specific, explain exactly what you're trying to achieve. What is the goal of your goal? What are you trying to do? Make it measurable. If we just say, I'm going to participate in professional development, how do we, how much are you going to do? 10 days of professional development. Okay, well, that we're getting closer to something that's measurable. Successfully, my goal is to successfully coordinate a new Master Gardener intern class, maybe Olivia. I mean, that's a great goal. You've already just about achieved it. And that's, and maybe to make it measurable, maybe you say with at least 20 participants. Maybe it's at least 10 or 5 participants for a class if it's just something new that you're starting off. We're not as concerned about numbers of participation in that first year as just offering a high quality program. We want to make sure that you're offering something and word is going to spread, and more people are going to want to participate in that the next time around. So quality over numbers, but numbers can help us to make that a little bit measurable. We do want it to be achievable. We don't want it to be so big that it might not be achievable. So make it reasonable, realistic, something that you can achieve, and that relates to what our goals are for the person in your position. Okay, what we're trying to accomplish, what our mission is. And then we also want to make it timely. So you're going to probably want to give some sort of a deadline. And so it's probably going to be, 2021. But if you plan to accomplish it by a certain month, then go ahead and spell that out. Otherwise, you could say this year, but do make it a little bit timely, and that just adds to the specificness. And the other thing I would say is, if one of these goals are something that you're continuing to work on, that's not the end of the world. You've made significant progress in 2021, but you've got a little more to do. Maybe things didn't go quite the way you expected. This is only a plan. We really want to achieve most of these this year, but if there's one that carries over a little bit, but you've made significant progress, we'll work with you on that, and that's not going to be a terrible thing. So we really want you to make goals that are going to help you to be successful, and sometimes those might just be a little bit bigger than what you realize right now, and they might carry over just a little bit. So Justin, what else would you like to add here?
No, I would just say, when you're thinking about your SMART goals, like Ty said, you want to make sure it's achievable. And so there are a lot of grand ideas, especially right now, because of the way that work is. You may be in the office, you may be working remotely. There's a lot of digital opportunities. but you got to come back and say, all right, what's realistic? So you may need to look at your calendar, reevaluate what trainings you've signed up for, because that first year is very heavy in trainings in all programs areas. What's coming up in the summer, and think about what can I realistically do this year. And also, like Ty said, those of you who started January 1, February 1, think about what have I done, and begin to list those tasks out that helped you deliver that program. And so that will help in delivering and figuring out those SMART goals for you. But this is really key. Every type of goal we do is going to be a SMART goal. So you'll actually set some goals as part of your appraisal. You'll have to set a couple goals, which we'll talk about that much later. But even those, we want them to be SMART goals. So this is not lingo that is a one-time thing. This is ingrained in what we do in Extension. So think about this. Let this sink in, and realize that this will be a continuing terminology that rises up. So every type of goal, when we talk about any type of goals, automatically think SMART goals.
Very good. Any questions about that? All right, super. So as we're doing this, we do want to start with the end in mind. And so, you know, especially with program goals, we really want to see what impact do we want to make? What change do we want to see people implement or do to improve their situation, their life, their production, whatever it is. And then we kind of work backwards. How do we make that happen? How do we offer an extension program that achieves that objective? And so, so thinking about our end outcomes, what we're wanting to help people to be able to accomplish, and then how do we implement something to be able to address that and achieve that outcome. That's kind of how we plan extension programs when we really do a good job of it. It's not always the way things develop, but it's nice when it does, and I think it's the ideal situation. And so as a new agent, you have that opportunity, I think, to sort of steer the direction based on what you want to accomplish in the end. All right, well, Justin, you ready to go here?
Yes, let's do some examples here. All right, so again, we're typically most of what we have is 3 to 5 tasks on these goals. So just keep in mind, if you have more tasks, that's not a problem. But yeah, for space sake and being able to read, we did 3 to 5, or I think Tom may have one with 5 or 6. So we pulled several different examples to kind of mirror what we asked you to consider between professional development, needs assessment, and program area. So this one's 4-H youth development. So this one is a goal here: host a county 4-H virtual horse show in May and June. So it is specific because we're going to host this virtual horse show. It is measurable because we can tell whether we've had the horse show or not. Is it achievable? That would be a question to ask. You know, you may be in a county that connectivity, broadband and connectivity may or may not be a good goal for you. And then also it is realistic and it is timely. So these are things to think about. So looking at these, this is some of the tasks. So teleconference or planning sessions with those folks and specialists and staff involved. And it may be folks in your office. It may be folks outside of your office. It could be volunteers and 4-H project group leaders. Promotion of the event. So how are you going to promote it? In this one, they did email, Eastern Region Extension, phone calls, and social media. And so a lot of times you may have to just grind and make phone calls to folks, and you can add those in there, and that's okay. That's a good way to build those relationships like Ty talked about. And then task 3 is showing some evaluation here. So survey participants and program partners to get those outcomes. And like Ty said, that would be a good spot to add some things that you want to learn about your county and or folks that are involved in your program areas. All right, so this one's needs assessment. So we want to complete a comprehensive county 4-H needs assessment by the end of September. And so it gives some specific task of how we're going to do that. We're going to engage in conversations, and Ty did a great job of explaining needs assessment. Many times when folks come in as new agents, they immediately think of a survey to be sent out, and that is one good tool in your arsenal for needs assessment. But many times you can talk to your advisory council members, your ag committee members, existing volunteers, government partners, county commissioners, county mayors, other partners in the community, different folks of that nature, Farm Bureau, Health Department, county school system, so on and so forth. And you may even consider, if you're comfortable with the idea of a focus group and capturing that information in that kind of style, that's another way to do that. And then in task 2, they're doing an evaluation survey and hard copy surveys, because not everyone is going to take a digital survey. So maybe you have those and you're doing a program and you say, hey, I'm collecting data throughout the year to make sure we're serving the best needs of the county. Would you fill this out on your way out of this session? And then again, there, meet with your 4-H advisory committee. So there's several different ways to do this. And so when you begin to think about these tasks and breaking them down and what's going to funnel into helping you achieve that goal, that's how you want to think of those tasks. What are the pieces that are going to make these goals achievable? Nancy, this may look familiar to you because I borrowed some of what you and I've talked about.
Hey,
So I tweaked it just a little bit. So plan, market, and implement 3 food preservation classes by October at the county extension office. Now your office, if you're doing FCS, may or may not be the spot to do your food preservation class, but I'm sure you can find somewhere there. So in this one of the tasks here would be to attend that Food Preservation 101, which is a 3-day in-service. And so like Ty talked about, that's some professional development, because in FCS, we don't want agents teaching food preservation courses without this background knowledge and training. And so that's one of the key pieces to make this goal achievable. Then we talk about advertising through the different outlets. And then another piece would be creating registration material. So if you've got a course, and right now, there's many ways we're limited by room size and what we're able to do, registration may be a key part of that task funneling to that goal, especially if you're doing class sessions in program areas. And then task 4 here is also another good piece to think about, and this can relate to any program area, but print and order materials for classes. So with food preservation, you've got to have jars, all the different equipment that goes with it, the produce, the publications, those different things. With some of the master programs, there may be signage that has to be ordered for those that complete or picked up. For Master Gardener, you're going to have books that need to be ordered for participants before those classes start. And so thinking about those pieces and walking through how that funnels in to make that goal achievable and what steps you have to take. Ty, I think you've got the A&R one here.
Sure. So just an example of conducting an A&R course. It could be a class, it could be Master Gardener or anything else. I threw Master Beef Producer in here. And so I'm more of the type to really make those tasks simple and instead of making them a long sentence, I just like to have it a real short sentence to the point. No, I can just check those off and make it through my list, but you can have whatever style you want. So plan dates and secure a location. That's easy enough. And then we've got to choose some topics for each session and find speakers to teach those topics. It may be you teaching those topics, it may be others. So we've got to figure out that part of the plan. And then contacting speakers to confirm that they are available and they will commit to teaching those dates and those topics. Once you have that in place, we can create a registration form, flyer, and press release to get that out, advertise and market the class through all methods possible. And as you all, just as a tip, as you're marketing your programs, the more different ways you can market that, the better. And I know that there are counties that have a certain, like 6 or 7, 8 different ways they market every one of their extension programs. And so be creative with that. Talk to other agents and administrative assistants. They may be able to help you with some ideas to make sure that gets out to everybody that you want it to get to, because everybody finds things in different ways. Task 5, make plans to order and pick up the hats and signs that go with the class, so you have those to distribute. Conduct the classes, and then don't forget to evaluate the course and enter impact data into Super. So that is pretty specific, just some short tasks, and that's kind of what it takes in general. You might find some other things in there that you have to do too, but I think that takes you through pretty well. So this is kind of the thing we're looking at. At this point, any questions about goals and tasks? This is our last example to share with you. Okay, so in a normal IAP for an annual plan, an agent goes through month by month, every month, and gives January, this is what we're going to do, February, this is what we're going to do, March. And so, so this is a lot simpler, but it does kind of follow a chronological by giving these tasks. And so, so it's going to prepare you to be able to put that next IAP together for all of 2022. So it's sort of a baby step, and then, you know, and this isn't going to overload you, but it's going to help you prioritize and find what are the most important things that you want to make sure you achieve this year. All right. So as far as these outcomes and impacts go, again, we'll look at that in just a second, but we're just going to choose for this one set of outcome indicators. And so for 4-H, it would be one life skill that you would choose. If you're A&R FCS, you're just going to choose one topic area. Okay. So you may actually be able to survey and get more impact data than that one topic area. And that's absolutely terrific. So for all of those other outcomes that you survey, you can actually report that under your base program. And so this is a very important thing that there's a process we go through. So right now you all are entering delivery data, I believe. Now, is that, raise your hand if you're entering super delivery. Are we doing that a little bit? Okay. So it may be something we need to talk a little bit about if you're not, but as you're doing that right now, you're entering that under your base program, either whatever program area you're entering. But as soon as you have a plan in place, you can start entering delivery data that relates to your plan, and you can actually enter that into your plan. Now, for this year, I think we'd be happy for you just to enter everything in base programs. But for next year, you'll need to choose. And so we normally plan, and I just want to give you this preview because we've had agents that have gotten to their next year, they've had a plan, but then they kept reporting everything under base. And so the base program is the unplanned programs in a normal year where you have a plan for the whole year. And then you have your plan that we try to plan about 60% of our time. And so the things that we do, the programs related to that plan, get reported in delivery under our plan. And you guys don't even have that option right now. So it's nothing to worry about now, but just kind of see how this all fits together. I just want to share that for future reference. So you're going to have, and so this gives you a chance to report some outcomes in your plan with one topic area. And then if you want to do some more reporting, which makes your impact statement just that much stronger, it's optional, but it's a good thing to do. If you have that information, then you can report more outcomes in your base program area. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And when we look at this, I think it will help a little bit more. Are we ready for a little demonstration?
Todd, do we need to, is everybody good, or do you want a 5-minute stretch break, or?
Be glad to take a 5-minute break. Does that sound good? Okay, so it's 10:23, so let's try to get back at 10:28. That sound all right?
Let's do that. That'd be good.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, everybody has great photos on Zoom. I am really impressed.
They are pretty sharp.
Mine was just taken in the backyard. So that's one where you can look anywhere in Scott County and find beauty.
Yeah, it's very appropriate for you though. It works.
Mine was taken here in the office. I actually needed it for, maybe it was the new employee orientation. I don't remember what it was, but I had to have a headshot and I was like, I don't have anything right now. So
That's cool.
Mine's kind of old, but I've just not updated it. Kind of one of those, like whenever you get a good headshot, like you use it for several years and you're like, wake up one day and you're like, well, kind of can't use that anymore. I don't look the same.
And then there's some people that just hang on to it no matter what.
There's some that hang on forever.
All right. Well, so I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll jump into Super. And again, if you have two monitors and want to do some clicking and follow along, that would be great. You can actually create your plan while we're working today and get a start on it. So
And that probably is a good practice today, because if you just watch and then try to go back through, you may be like, well, wait a second. Now we've got the recording and you can refer to that, but it is kind of good to where you can say, hold on a second, you know, where did you all go for that? So.
right, absolutely. Experiential learning. Here we go. So so you're gonna go into super2.tennessee.edu. Okay. And then you'll see it says plans. So if you click there, you're going to see my plans or search plans. So this fall, when you're making a plan, it'll be very handy for you to be able to search plans and get some ideas of what other agents are doing that maybe in a county similar to yours, or maybe have programs similar to what you want to do. And so you do have that option. But today we're going to go to my plans, because this IAP Lite, you wouldn't want to look at anybody else's really, except those examples to get ideas. This is going to be real specific to you. I don't have any recent plans because I'm not an extension agent. I'm in a different position, but I'm going to go ahead and come over here. Oh, and I see that I can create a plan for 2020 and a plan for 2022. Oh,
Got
it's
a new
because
one
of
there
this.
for-
Let me
Yep.
throw that away. Okay, that's what we need to do. Okay, so I'm going to go to 2021. That's the first thing. It's easy to have the wrong year land in there. And if you're going to do all this work, make sure that first little thing, because we can't change it once it's created. We just had to delete it and start again. So 2021, okay, and then create new plan. Everybody with me? Okay. All right. So this doesn't look real encouraging. It says no agendas listed, but that's okay. We haven't picked any yet, so we're doing fine. So we're going to click add agenda, because that's really the only place there you can click. So go ahead. And now we're going to select what direction do we want to go. Okay. So we click here and we've got about a dozen choices. So if you are going to pick a 4-H plan, then you have basically two choices. You have 4-H civic-minded leadership, or you have 4-H workforce preparation. And I can tell you most 4-H agents will choose 4-H workforce preparation. It seems to be the most broad and cover the most areas, you know, communication, science, you know, leadership, just about anything we do in 4-H, achieving goals, all those things go into workforce preparation. So that gets you the most area to cover. Now, when we look at, but if you're really into citizenship and leadership, nothing wrong with going with that first choice. Okay, nothing wrong there. It's a good option. So then, you know, you can see several here on the ag side. And then down here on the FCS side, we've got resilience, we've got resources, well-being.
And so, Ty, let me talk about
Yeah,
those
go
for
ahead.
just a
Go
second,
for
since
it.
we got Melissa and Nancy here. So the resilience, resources, and well-being, you can do any of the topic areas within FCS. So whether it be, you know, nutrition and food safety, or consumer economics, or human development, it's a matter of what direction you want to approach those. So are you helping your community be resilient, or are you helping your community develop resources, or are you looking at well-being of your community? And it's kind of the direction in which you are programming towards your community. So it's not that one of them will limit you of what topic area you can choose. It's what angle are you choosing to program there. So most will do resources and well-being, but resilience is a very good topic considering the world we live in since 2020. Resilience would not be a bad idea if you wanted to look at it in that frame of mind.
And on the agriculture side, we get a lot of plans in livestock and forages, and then residential and consumer horticulture. Those are the two biggest areas that we get a lot of plans in. So yeah, for IAP Lite, you just pick one of these that's going to have something to do with your goals, and not all your goals are going to fall into that. That's okay. We're just picking one because we want to make this easy, and we have to pick one, you know. So there's no right or wrong one. As long as it makes sense for you, just go for it. No problem. Especially when you're a joint agent, you know, don't wrestle around. Do I do adult or youth? Just pick one that works as part of your goals and go for it. Okay. So I've got to pick one of these. So I'm going to pick workforce preparation, since that 4-H looks like it reaches across 3 of the 4 of us.
That works.
Okay. So when I do that, I think I need to go ahead and create and save the agenda. No, it may let me. Yeah, let me save the agenda real quick. I think that's going to give us the best situation here. So I save that. Okay, it won't let me save it till I start putting some data in. So that's important. I forgot about that. It's been a while since we've done this. Good lesson. Okay, so so let's go ahead and look at each section here. Okay, so for agenda home, it automatically populates some information. So it says 4-H youth development, and it does add FCS, and there's a reason for that. I don't know that we need to go into that one today, but we will explain a little bit of that. It gives you ability to include some of the FCS outcomes that relate to On My Own, is basically what that is. But the first thing it says 4-H, that's correct. That's what we're after. Now, here we've got knowledge areas. And so it's got checked 4-H positive youth development and consumer economics. Now, if I'm not doing it on my own, I may just uncheck that box and focus on 4-H positive youth development, and nothing wrong with that. If you need to check another box there, I think that's just fine. So you're customizing that to your plan, but basically we only expect you to have one of those. If you pick 2, we're not going to that's not going to bother us. And then here we've got topics. Okay, so this is where we're going to need to spend a little time trying to decide what topic we want, and that's going to relate to our outcomes. Okay, so let me go down to outcomes for a minute to help you make sense of this. I think that's the next logical spot. And so we had a bunch of check marks. Did you guys see that? So we go back up here and there's a bunch of check marks. Okay, for this IAP Lite, we don't need all those check marks. So we're going to focus in on one topic area. So you may know exactly what that topic area, it may be public speaking. Okay, if you know you're doing public speaking, that's the one you want to really get some impact data, do a survey, find out what 4-Hers, what skills they gained and how they feel about those. That's great. You can pick that. So we come in and click on communicating public speaking, and we have short-term, intermediate, or long-term. Okay, so youth can select a topic for a speech or talk. Okay, so how many? If we have 300 public speakers in our county, and we give a survey, okay, 250 can do that. Great. Okay, we're gonna select that. Youth can explain an idea to others. Sure. Okay, we can select all of them if we want to. It's not required. We would like for you to do, I would say at least 5 in a topic area if you're a 4-H agent. So at least the short term or the intermediate. If you want to do both the short term and the intermediate, I think that's a great strategy. Okay, so you've got some room to customize that. But if you're choosing communicating public speaking, then that means we're not going to choose any of these others that you see on the list. So I would encourage you to spend a little time looking at those. If you're doing a lot with judging teams, maybe ethical decision making is something you want to do. Youth now get information about a problem, report they can make a decision, those kind of things. There's healthy lifestyles, okay, fitness. Youth now think water is the best fluid replacement to drink. Youth report they will avoid substances that could harm their body. Okay, good stuff. And then there's healthy lifestyles, food, nutrition, and food safety as well. That's a good one. If you're doing health rocks, that might be a really good option. And then I would say science can also be a pretty popular option on the 4-H side. So just spend a little time there and pick the one that you think you could most successfully have some outcomes to report, and go with that. So again, we've chosen public speaking in this plan, and we went with the short-term and the intermediate outcomes. All right. Now on the ag side, there will not be as many outcomes. There are much fewer. We've tried to make less, and we've tried to make them very impactful. So if you have 2 or 3 in a topic area on the ag side, that might be all that you see in that topic, and that's just fine. Okay, no problem there.
It might be beneficial for us to just show ag and FCS really quickly.
Sure, we can do that.
Just so they can see it.
Right. Okay. So let me, we need to do it right here, don't we? So if we do production agriculture and then human development, will that get it, or nutrition and food safety?
That should, yeah, one of those two will be fine.
Okay.
Nutrition, food safety.
Okay. And then we come over here and let's see what we've got. I probably, knowing the group that's in here, let me do home and garden here. So I'll get a residential.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna say consumer horticulture on the ag side. And then we come down, is it down at the bottom? What do we want here?
I think it's going to check all those FCS ones there.
Okay. Do you think we got them?
Yeah, we've got them.
Okay.
The ones that are tripping for those knowledge areas, yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So now we come down to outcomes, and I tell you what, we got a bunch now. Okay. So
those 3 on the bottom, those are going to be FCS. So if you click on one of those, Ty.
Okay.
And so we're only asking you to do one topic there. And so we're not asking you to do one topic and then choose all of these, because these are going to be lined up. Nancy, this is probably going to be specifically for you, because I know Melissa's doing some, probably going to do hers in the 4-H. And we'll look at this more in depth next Friday, but there are going to be specific programs that these outcomes are tied to. They are not all specific to nutrition and food safety. So when you open this up and you're building this, don't look at it and go, oh my goodness, we've got to do a lot of evaluation. There's certain ones we're going to choose per program area. So.
Right. Okay. And then let's see if we find that residential. Did we get that in there?
There's a consumer horticulture down
there. It is.
There.
Okay. And so, yeah, for consumer horticulture, Sean and Olivia, we just have 2 outcomes. So, this second one covers a lot of areas. So if you were focused on residential and consumer horticulture, that might be all you pick, is those 2 things. But then we want to do a really good job of measuring those when we have a group that we have that we get to teach and have some impact with. So a little bit less to collect on the ag side, but it's not any less important. It's all very important. So we just want to choose wisely there. And again, if you have some other impact, then we just, for all of us, then, we report that under our base program. We can add outcomes there.
So are you saying to choose either short-term outcomes, intermediate or long? You're going to choose one of those 3, and then of one of those 3 areas, maybe choose up to 5 outcomes?
Yes, that would be where you want to be, because you, especially on that FCS side, Nancy, you wouldn't want to select all of these because they're going to spread across programs. And
Okay.
so we may want to look next Friday when I come visit and see what programs you're thinking about doing, and we can select some outcomes there based on your goals.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if
But
we have
yes.
that hard and fast limit of 5, but that's in the ballpark where you want to be probably.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, very good. Any questions there? We'll look at the other parts of this. Okay, so that kind of comes at this from planning with the end in mind, and that's what we've talked about. So now you kind of see how that works, because that data that we collect in outcomes is combined across the whole state, and that's how we report the impact of UT and TSU extension statewide, as we gather all those outcomes from all the counties. And when you put that together, it makes a huge impact. If we all made our own outcomes, there'd be no way to put those together in a way that really was meaningful. And so this is a very powerful tool for us to justify our funding and everything, to be able to have the resources to support you all. So we want to report to these outcomes as much as possible. And that simplifies things a little bit for agents. So I think that gives us some direction. All right.
And
So we've got this.
most of your programs, Ty, this is a good point with outcomes. Most of your programs are going to have that evaluation tool planned and as part of materials on internal websites and things of that nature. And if not, you can talk to myself or Ty, and we may be able to help you find some resources there. And so a lot of this is going to be prepared in some programs for you to go ahead and roll that evaluation tool out and connect it to your outcomes.
Yes, I would say that if you're having to invent your own survey questions to report these outcomes, have a conversation with us, because I think we can point you to the right spot to find where it's already ready-made. Okay. And at the end, we might take a minute to show the 4-H agents, if we can get to those surveys. I'll have to double check. I think we could show that in the PIN program in Old Super. All right, so let's look at relevance. So we've already got this section from the statewide agenda already loaded. It says, according to data from Business Higher Education, employees are reporting young workers lack key skills, and that's why we're doing an educational program in workforce preparation. It goes into a lot of detail and gives some statistics that are statewide. And so down here in relevance section, could somebody remind me, what are we going to put in there? Do you remember from the presentation? Anybody? So that's going to be where we put in our statistics for our county. So some demographics, population, and then some key statistics that relate to our program area. So whether that's FCS, 4-H, or agriculture, that's what goes in there. And so it's just a text box, and that's where we're going to put those statistics, okay?
And do note, if you're a very wordy person, this is not a spot to write your dissertation paper, because there's only 6,000 characters. So even doing the IAP Lite, if you get a little wordy, just remember you are character limited here. So you want to really make sure you're writing specific and doing that intentionally.
And my thinking is we could probably get this done in about 500 characters or less, maybe. If we just kind of want those basic statistics, you don't need to write a paragraph in here at all. You will next time for the real IAP for 2022, but not in this one. We're keeping it simple. Okay. So then we come down here to plans for the coming year. Okay, now we've got some things that already came in. Okay, we're just going to leave all that alone right now, and that's fine. It's got a list of resources, and some of this may be useful. You may want to click on this and see where it takes you. It'll have some resources there that relate to the 4-H workforce preparation or whatever agenda you choose, and those automatically load. And so right here is where we put our goals and our tasks. So you're going to enter those in. And again, I would encourage you to type those into Word and then put them into super from there. And you got spell check and everything else, and it's just easy to work with that. All right, let's keep going here. Now we've got a place here for collaborators and partners. We don't need to fill that in this time. We're going to just leave that blank. You'll use that the next time around for your 2022 IAP. I'm gonna go ahead and close down outcomes. It'll save what we've picked. And then we have planned evaluation. And again, we're just gonna let that one go this time. We're gonna trust that whatever those outcomes are that you've got in your tasks, ideally, if those outcomes relate to a goal, you'll tell how you're gonna do that. But we're not requiring that those outcomes relate to one of these goals, so they may not. But we do want you to survey your participants and collect that outcome. We're just trying to make this a very simple process for you to be successful in this first year.
Where do you put the survey information again? I was writing. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Oh, that's okay. So
Plan evaluation.
but what we're going to say is you don't need to type anything in planned evaluation. Okay. This will be more important next time, but it does have some information here that may be handy. And sometimes it will have a link. I don't know if it still does in Super, but sometimes it has a link to an evaluation form online. But we're not going to ask you to fill this out. The place that you're going to report your impact or your outcomes is actually in the delivery page in Super. Okay. So we could look at that in just a minute if we want to. So we've gone all the way through this. And let me just remind you, the key things here are plans for the coming year. That's your statistics for your county. Your outcomes, that's where you select the family of outcomes or the topic area, and then check some of those boxes that you're going to choose. And then the relevance, and that's where you're going to, so yeah, relevance. Oh, sorry, plans for the coming year. That's what I didn't say. And that's your goals and your tasks. So 3 sections. 3 sections is all you got to do, and they're going to be pretty simple. All right, any questions? So relevance, plans for the coming year, and outcomes. All right, so at this point, we're close to the end. We did have the question about where do we put outcomes in? I think that's a good question. So we might run over to delivery and look at that for a minute. Is that all right, Justin?
That works perfect. I think it's a good idea.
All right, so delivery.
Especially for those that may have or be finishing up Master Gardener course, they may have some data to put in.
Okay, so for this year, we are going to ask you in your IAP to report those outcomes in your plan. Now in mine, I just have base programs here. I think I did not even, I may not have saved even what I worked on there, to be honest with you. So I'm a bad example, but make sure you click save. Should I go back and try to see if it's there? Okay, so at the very bottom, that's the save button. I can't do this without showing you that save agenda. Okay, and I can probably guarantee you it lost everything I did here. Yeah, lost every bit of it. And so that's what you don't want to do. So click save agenda every time you go in to work on anything. When you're done, or as soon as you think you're going to get interrupted when somebody walks into your office.
I got a quick question. So
Okay.
we have the 3 sections to fill out, but it doesn't allow you to save it if you don't put information in the other sections.
Yes.
Do you just put it like a period NA?
Yes, just type, yeah, anything you want to. Type some text if you're not ready to do all 3 sections. And actually, it's just going to be 2 that require text. It's going to be the relevance and the plans for the coming year.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So just type something in there so it will allow you to save it if it's a work in progress. So I'm going to go to delivery home. Go back here and let's go to 4H. I'm going to create impact statement first. And So your impact statements are not loaded until you create them. Okay, so now if you have a whole bunch of delivery up here, this may be way down the page to get to impact statements, but it's usually there if you've created it. So sometimes that's a little hard to find. So I'm going to click my impact statement. And here it says outcome statements. There are no outcome statements associated with this because I haven't added any to it. Now with your IAP, you're going to see that you've already added them and they're loaded. But for base, we would have to add. So I'm going to pick 4-H youth development. I'm going to add positive youth development. And then let's say I did my IAP Lite with the public speaking, but I also did some science. So I'm going to pick science. Okay. And then I'm going to pick which ones of these that I actually want to use. So let's say I'm going to pick the intermediate ones. I don't have to pick them all, but I think I can do that. So I'm going to add that to my impact statement. And now I've got outcomes listed. I've got 5, and all I have to do is type in a number here. So if it's 25, get rid of our 0. Maybe it's 29, say they can ask a question that can be answered by collecting data. Maybe only 21 say they can investigate or design a scientific procedure. And then, you know, the numbers are all over. They may all match up really close, but it's going to be different for each thing. And I update my outcome statements and that saves. So it's that simple. Not much to it, just having to know where to go and how to do it. And we will give you some more training on this. I promise you late in the year. So you'll get a refresher, but at least you have
the key piece would be as you're collecting data, collect the data. If you don't know how to put it into Super, like Ty said, we'll talk about that. But make sure you're collecting the data because we'll get you where it needs to be put in if you're having troubles there. But as you're going through and doing programs, just make sure you're capturing that.
Right. And nothing wrong with having this discussion with your county director too. They can help you with all this, and that's good discussion to have so they know what you're doing and how things are going and all that kind of thing.
And if your county director's been around a little bit, just know that if they get confused that this is a newer version of Super, and most folks are still adjusting a little bit and saying, I don't know where this is in new Super versus old Super. And it's not a big issue. It's just a matter of sometimes we've got to refresh until we get used to that system. So if you've got a county director that's been around a while, they may say that, and it's all fine.
All right. Well, it looks like we're close to wrapping up here. So let's summarize what our plans are for handling this. I think Justin's going to take that.
Yeah. So we want you to review the goals that you're setting and the task with your county director by April 30th. So that is 2 weeks from today. So that gives you 2 weeks. Some of you are maybe further than others on where your goals are at. I was pulling up my calendar here to make sure I was telling you 2 weeks correctly. So some of you may be further than others with your goals and tasks, but make that a point to review that with your county director, and then submit your plan, your IAP Lite in Super by May 12th. Once you submit that, it will go to your county director. And so it will go to them. And then once they approve it, it will come to Ty and myself. Nancy, yours and Melissa's will probably come to me, and Sean and Olivia's, I would guess yours will probably trigger to Ty. And we may both be able to see those, but we'll look at those and work with you on that if we have any questions. But before that, if you're working on these and you have questions, again, work with your county director, or we can set up a time to chat and help you through those if you need some individualized help on specific programs and things of that nature.
And this is the normal process that we go through for IAPs year to year. The agent submits those, they go to the county director for review. In this situation, I would really encourage you not just to send those to your county director, but I would get on the calendar with them and just plan a time to meet and go through those and talk to the county director about these, whether it's on Zoom or in person. That's up to you all. But I think that's really important with this first year to just be able to do that. And they may have some changes. They may be able to steer you out of trouble by, giving you some advice on the goal or on the tasks, or maybe something we've overlooked, which is very easy to do if you haven't done some of these things before. So I think they'll be the first assistance that you can get. And then once the county director is satisfied, then that IAP can be submitted to us. And then we may have some other comments that we want to say, hey, we think, maybe we need to talk about this, or this goal is not very measurable. What can we do to make it more specific or more measurable to make sure at the end of the year we can say, yes, we achieved it clearly, or no, we didn't. And so don't be surprised if we give you some, and it's just part of the learning process. But we'll probably have some sail through with no edits from program leaders also. So it happens both ways. And just, I didn't really talk about very much with the way Super operates, but once you save your plan and you have everything right, you can submit. And so once you submit, and Justin did say this, it goes to the county director. Then the county director has the option of approving, or they can ask for edits and send it back to you. So they make the first call. Now, if you want to share your plan in a Word document with your county director when you meet, that's just fine too. However you want to do that between you and your county director, you can have that conversation. But by the 30th, we'd really like for you to have it submitted in Super to the county director. So you may have reviewed it before that, or you may be about to review it around that date with them after you've submitted it. Sometimes a plan is returned to the agent from the county director, and then you resubmit, and it may go to the county director, and they may not always realize it's sitting there waiting. So I would encourage you also to take one extra step when you submit your plan to let the county director know that you've submitted the plan for their approval. And then that will kind of clue them in that they need to approve it so it can go to us if they do approve it. So it's just kind of the process. And we can look in there and see the status of your plan. And if we see that it's stuck at the county director for a while, we'll try to intervene and check on you. But it would be best if you can keep up with that. My screen just popped up with a big box. It's clear now. Okay, I was afraid I lost you for a second there. All right. Well, I think we're close to wrapping up. The only thing I would say is I could show the 4-H agents where your surveys are going to be, because they're different than all the others. If you want to hang on for Sean and Melissa and Olivia just for a minute. What discussion or questions do we have as we're wrapping up here?
Did you say you were going to send us these slides?
Yes,
Or
it
the
should be in
PowerPoint?
it should be in your inbox already.
Yeah, I got it already. So
All right, we can talk about IAPs, or we can talk about anything else if this has brought something else to mind before we adjourn. We're glad to be on with you. We don't get to do it often enough, hardly it seems like. So while we're on, anything on anybody's mind before we adjourn?
Ty, I've got one question, and it's been probably a week since I checked, but I was just going through internal resources, and I was wanting to look at the FCE leader lessons, and they did not pull up for me. I don't know if that's something technical on my end or not, but it showed an error message. And so I don't know if they've been discontinued, or I'm not sure what happened there. And I'm not sure who to talk to about seeing if are available.
I'm looking right now, Nancy.
Sometimes you'll find maybe an internal SharePoint site just for everybody's benefit, and it may say you don't have access. And sometimes it will give you a spot to say request access. And if you'll request access, a lot of times you'll have that before the end of the day. Like Sean, if you need to get on the animal science department internal website and you find that you don't have access, when you click on it, you can click that request access and they'll get you approved, and you'll probably get an email, and then go back in there at the end of the day or the next day, and you're probably going to be all set. But anytime you all have a problem like that, Nancy, you're coming to the right people to ask. So Justin or I can work through that with you. If it's on the FCS, Justin's going to have a good answer for you. He'll figure it out. And on the ag side, I'll be there for you, and we'll all team up. Whoever you want to talk to on the 4-H side, we'll navigate it and get it set for you.
And Nancy, I popped that link in the chat if you want to try it. That takes you to the internal resource for the TAFC, which is Tennessee Association of FCE. And then there's a spot that says all leader lessons on the left there, and it goes back for several years.
Oh, I haven't seen this page before. I had just gone through internal resources.
And I will tell you that when we changed websites over to the new WordPress site, there were links that went bad or didn't make it through that process. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if you all find something that doesn't work. And so when you find that, go ahead and just shoot us an email, and we'll get to the bottom of it. And it may be that we need to let the FCS department know about something like that. So just let us know if you find things like that, because we want to make sure you have all the tools you need and that everything's working right on those links too.
One last question. What is the address to get into Super 2?
super2.tennessee.edu. And I bet you Justin's already typing it into the text.
I can do it.
Yeah. And so that's where we're going to be entering delivery. And if you're not entering delivery yet, we'll get you going on that soon. That's something we try to get onto in the first 3 months or so, give or take. And so we try not to overwhelm you with everything in the first month. So super2.tennessee.edu. There is Classic Super. And so I think we're going to hop into that for a minute with the 4-H agents. There's not many things that we have to do in Classic Super anymore. So you might not even have to deal with that much, if at all. Pretty much everything is in the new Super, and believe me, it's better than it used to be.
Drastically.
Good questions. Anything else?
Are there already survey questions for ag? And
There
if so,
are survey questions on the ag side. They're in different places. So
it's best to
Sean,
collect them and start saving them to.
So what I would say is a lot of them are found on those leadership team and work group sites. And so we may be able to find them there, but rather than going looking, if there's a certain one you need, if you want to just send me an email, and we'll and I'll get you directed to the right spot, or send you the survey or whatever it is. And I'm not even sure I could tell you exactly where every single one is, so we might have to check if there's a tough one. But
Okay.
But the most common ones I think we can come up with pretty quick.
Perfect.
Good questions. Okay, well, I think we can go in then, Justin, if you think we're all finished. And if those with 4-H responsibility will hang on for a few minutes. Nancy, thank you for all the interaction today. It was really good to get to spend a little time here, and we'll let you jump out if you want to. If you want to stay on and check this out, nothing wrong with that either. You're welcome to stay, but if you need to do something else, that's okay too. It's not required.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Nancy, if you just want to think about this and play with Super, we can, if you run into any questions that you have specifically there, we'll tackle those when I come up next Friday. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, we'll see.
Appreciate all the good information.
All right, we'll see you. Okay, so we're going to look at where we get these 4-H survey questions. And so I'm going to have to go to Classic Super. So it's Super without the 2, super.tennessee.edu. So super.tennessee.edu. And I have not been in here in a long time to go to the PIN survey. So let's see if this works. Okay, right here we have Program Evaluation Network. And so that's what we're looking for, PEN, Program Evaluation Network, right under delivery where you land when you first go. This is the old delivery system. Do not use it, okay? All right, going to PIN. Don't think it's gonna go, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's still live, Ty.
I don't know that it is either. I wonder if it's in the new super somewhere. Well, this is something that we have not encountered, to be honest with you, in the transition to new super. Well, we will we'll get an answer for you. All right, how's that sound? We'll have to track that down. But there is a system, if we can access it, that creates all those surveys for you, and it is really nice. It saves them for you. Like you can go back to it next year if you're surveying the same group with the same questions and all that kind of thing. So let us do a little checking on that, and we'll let you know.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. All right. Now we've got just folks that do have some 4-H responsibility. Anything on that end of things that you guys want to talk about before we adjourn? All right. Well, thanks for being with us today. It was really great to see everybody and excited to have Justin on board with us. So you guys don't hesitate to reach out to him if you need anything. And I think we got a really good team here at the region office moving forward. And our purpose is just to support you guys. So any question, big or small, even if it seems insignificant, we're expecting you to bring those to us. So don't hesitate to contact us if you need anything.
And we'll definitely see you on May 3rd. And also, I guess all three of you will be at Extreme Training as well. So we'll get to see each other quite a bit here over the next month or so.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. All right. See you guys.
Yep. See ya. Thank you for the talk.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you. You want to stop at recording time?
Yeah.